There we go. Welcome, welcome. We'll get started in just a moment. As you log on, just share and chat where you're calling in from, one thing you're here for today. Welcome, everyone. Yay, welcome. Hi, everyone. So glad you're logging on. Welcome. So glad that you're here. Yay. As folks are logging on, just share and chat where you're calling in from and one thing you're here for today. We're so glad to have you with us. We'll get started in just a moment. Yay, welcome in Miami and North Carolina. So glad to have you here. And LA, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Yay, welcome from Dakota land. Welcome, so glad you're here. All right, we're going to get started and folks can continue to log on as they come. Okay, so hi, welcome everyone. I'm Rabbi Adina Allen. I'm co-founder and creative director of Jewish Studio Project, situated here on the unceded land of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people in Berkeley, California. And we're super excited to have you all here for the first session of Creative Rest, which is put on by Jewish Studio Project with the support of the Rise Up initiative. Just to say a word for those who are new to the work of JSP, our work is about sparking and sustaining transformation by helping all of us connect to the power of our inherent creativity. And we envision a world in which people believe in and draw upon their creativity for power, their creative power for healing and for liberation. So hopefully that's some of what we're going to do here together today. And I want to just introduce Danielle, who's here with me on support.
Hi, Danielle, and if you have any tech needs or questions, please feel free to message me in the chat, and transcripts are enabled, and I'll just drop in a little link in case it's helpful to have a little more information about that.
Awesome, thanks Danielle. And I will obviously do a bigger introduction for our amazing guest presenter in a moment so we can build up to that. Just say a word about this series. Creative Rest is a monthly drop-in series for you, for all of us, for movement leaders, activists, artists, cultural workers, organizers, for those whose very existence is an act of love and resistance against the status quo. And we want to invite you to be here in any way that feels nourishing and restful for you. So on camera, off camera, playing in your garden, making art throughout our time together, snuggled on the couch, however feels good for you is encouraged and welcome. So please follow your body's desires and needs. And want to say this is the first in our Creative Rest series. And our next two sessions will be with the amazing Kohenet Kashira Halev Fife on January 20th. We can put in a link about Kashira. And the next one, February 17th, will be with Rabbi Monica Gomri, who is right here on the screen. Hey, Mo. Great to see you. So really looking forward to that. So you have a sense of the flow for today's session. I'm going to just share a few words of grounding and framing. We'll then turn it over to our guest presenter. We'll then have about 20-ish minutes for art making to be in parallel play and parallel process alongside one another in the virtual studio to explore and to create and to reflect and really to integrate and imagine, sparked by what we hear in the presentation. And then we'll close with a chance to share back with one another what has been sparked for us. So just by way of grounding, JSP is founded on the belief that each and every one of us is creative. And we take this from the very beginning of Torah, the Hebrew Bible, which begins with the words Bereshit bara Elohim. In the beginning, God created. And then a few verses later, we read that human beings are made B'Tselem Elohim, which means in the image of the divine. in the image of this divine creative force of the universe. So taking that to mean that each and every one of us are creative, that creativity is a place of deep power, that it is through our creativity that we can tap into our inner knowing, into our unfiltered needs, that we can discover the possibility and the peril of these times and open ourselves to knowing that there is so much possible beyond that which we can currently see and touch. And when creation began, and as it's described in the Bible, all was darkness, depths, chaos, and void. And that just as the divine honored and worked with these raw elements to shape what became stardust and sea foam and redwoods, so too do each of us contain chaos and void within ourselves, and we encounter it within our world. So may our creative process be a way for us to honor and to learn from and work with, and perhaps even transform these elements into what comes next and into the world that we envision. And may it be a place for us to bring our longings, our questions, our desires, and our dreams. And may it be a place in which we feel connected to and held by a force in the universe that exists deep within each and every one of us and within all beings. And may what comes through us and to us in creative process be nourishing and sustaining and enlivening for us and for the world. So with that, maybe we can just take a moment for those who are on screen right now, just to wave each other in. I just like to remind ourselves that we're real human beings on the other end of screens, and we're here together to nourish and to support and hold and create alongside one another. So thank you for being here. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be starting off this series with someone for whom creative process is core to their very being. Micah Bezant is an incredible visual artist, cultural strategist, and I think one of the real prophetic visionaries of our time, who I feel blessed to call a colleague and a neighbor and a friend. And in the way that Micah's prophetic artwork builds movements and radically shifts the way we see the world, my experience of their speaking has been that it touches the soul and it blasts open the heart. And not only is Micah an eloquent, powerful, moving speaker, but my experience of their very presence is that it instructs us how to be of service with humility and with honesty to the vision of the world that we seek to build. So I want to now turn it over to Micah, and especially thank Micah for helping to collaborate with me and with JSP on envisioning this series and bringing it into being. So turning it over to you, friend.
Oh my goodness, no pressure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to start my timer. Can we all just take a couple deep breaths together? I would like to start by telling you a bit about how I come here today, and by sharing my screen, which I'm going to do. Let's see. Okay. A bit about my lineage. I've been making art with social justice movements for over 10 years. I come to this work through many networks of artists and organizers who have supported me, saved my life, and believed in this work and me when I did not. Folks like Miss Major, Patty Byrne, Lewis Wallace, Miriam Kaba, and so many others. And movement artists who were my possibility models, who gave me my first bootleg font CDs and helped me print my first posters, like the folks at Oakland's Design Action Collective, Dignidad Rebelde, Center for Cultural Power, folks who were taught by the Black and Chicanx arts movement, folks who came before them. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you and share my work from a place of deep humility and gratitude, knowing that we're all trying to figure it out together. My father was born in Warsaw in 1927, and he grew up in hiding in Nazi Europe. My mother's family is from Lodz, and all my extended family was murdered by Nazis. And they escaped as refugees to Australia and eventually to the US, two of the settler colonial nations that were allowing some European Jews to enter because they wanted more people who could be white. When I think about rest, I think about the way my family has been impacted by genocide and anti-Semitism. How we internalize that in order to be worthy of survival, we had to be perfect. We had to be perfect, and we had to never be schwach, to be never weak and never wrong in order to be worthy of life. My father escaped the Nazis and he became a eugenicist. He became a doctor and he developed some of the very first screening tests for fetal abnormalities. So people could screen for defective pregnancies and abnormal people. I just want to put in a side note, especially right now, that the right to abortion healthcare should be inviolable. And we can't understand the development and use of these technologies outside of racism, ableism, and eugenics. My father and my family internalized the belief that if there's something wrong with you, if you're racially or biologically impure, you should be killed. And in fact, we have internalized this so deeply that we will do the killing for you. My father has half joked that if there was something wrong with us, he would have left us behind at the hospital. So I come to you with this question: what parts of ourselves have we left behind at the hospital? What disabled parts of ourselves have we tried to kill to survive? In her essay, The Right Not to Work, the disabled artist Sunny Taylor writes, "Work is the ultimate sign of an individual's independence, and impairment reveals our interdependence and threatens our belief in our own autonomy. How is our drive to constantly perform productivity and attempt to prove that we are self-sufficient and so we are worthy of life? How can we embrace rest and interdependence? As the disability justice movement so beautifully teaches us, how can we move together and leave no body-mind behind? In the words of abolitionist Monica Cosby, how can we refuse to abandon each other? This is a little image I made with folks during the 2014 Israeli massacres on Gaza. It's intentionally made in a very quick and sketchy style to allow myself to experiment with imperfection. And it was a collaboration with my dear friend and heart family, Patty Byrne, who is the director of the organization Sins Invalid, and they are one of the founders of the disability justice movement. We made this image to bring attention to disablement as a tactic of genocide in both the US and Israel. Disablement through torture, through poisoning water, blocking medical care, by Israeli military practices like kneecapping, where soldiers intentionally aim to permanently disable Palestinian youth by shooting out their knees. As an Israeli captain said, "I will make half of you disabled and let the other half push the wheelchairs." So in the face of these horrors, these small gestures, these small creations are a beautiful act of solidarity between folks we love, folks who are so often left behind, BIPOC, disabled folks, and Palestinian folks. How can we refuse to abandon each other? One of the survival strategies drilled into me growing up was to trust no one and that friendship is a lie. Was anyone else here taught that? I feel like it's a very Ashkenazi, Eastern European coping mechanism, perhaps. The idea is that friendship is a lie because when you are starving and you are in a boxcar and there's only one apple, your so-called friend will kill you to get that apple. In Judaism, as in many traditions, we know that time is nonlinear and that healing and knowledge flow back and forth across our generations. Part of my struggle in this life is to learn to be a better friend, to save each other's lives, and to help my ancestors finally leave that boxcar. Civil rights leader Ella Baker asked us, "Who are your people?" When I sit with that question, my heart answers, people fighting genocide are my people. I see so many of us afraid to speak out as anti-Zionists, afraid to even have honest conversations with our closest friends and communities. We are so afraid of what we might lose. But what do we lose by living in fear? By colluding with racism and genocide through silence? By being on the wrong side of history? I long for a Jewish community where, as an act of love, we refuse to tolerate Zionism, where we reject it as clearly as we reject sexism and homophobia. When we fail to speak out and to lovingly confront each other on Zionism, we allow racism and genocide to continue consuming every bit of our culture. This is another collaboration with my family at Sins Invalid. It's a memorial portrait of Mario Woods, a young disabled Black man who was executed by the San Francisco Police Department in 2015. The folks at Black Lives Matter Bay Area reached out to me to create a memorial portrait. And that's generally a situation where I'm so honored to be asked, and I will drop whatever I'm doing to make it happen as soon as possible. But I knew that I couldn't move forward on this portrait without my comrades at Sins Invalid. So I asked if they would all be open to working on it together. It required us going slower, but we made something that was very needed and that hadn't existed before. And it led to cross-disability conversations that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Folks often ask how I decide what to work on. And one of the guiding questions for me is, who is missing? Where can we strategically fill the gaps in our analysis and our movements? And in this case, a gap in understanding how police violence, racism, and ableism intersect. This is an image of one of our other disabled ancestors, Marsha P. Johnson. I made it in 2013 to express my disgust with the white supremacist corporate beer fest that Pride has become, and to help reclaim Black abolitionists, transcestors, and histories that have been left behind. I like to share this image because it's taught me how art has its own life. The words on this poster are actually not from Marsha, they're by me, but the words spoke to people and they traveled. I don't know all these people. They just continued to travel and continued to travel. And until now, we have a situation where people all over the world attribute those words to Marsha, which was a very strange situation for me. At first, I felt so conflicted, like that's not historically correct. And I didn't want my work to be erased. And I struggled with it. And finally, a friend helped me remember that we owe Marsha everything. And what an incredible gift to be in humility and to offer up these words to Marsha's spirit. And that's what cultural reparations are to me. to let go, as we are advised in this year of Shemitah, to allow the gates to the fields to be open and to be ownerless, and that we can let go of ideas like individual ownership and remember why we're here, to inspire each other to make change. And that's a victory for all of us. Last year, I had a hard realization about how I've left other people behind. I have so much pain over the ways that mainstream LGBT communities have historically abandoned trans folks, and especially trans folks of color. But I had to face that I have done the exact same thing and realized I'd been completely ignorant of the violence against intersex communities. And while states are passing laws to prevent trans healthcare, they're affirming the legal right of doctors in every state to non-consensually operate on intersex babies, to administer hormones on intersex kids, and do things that create lifelong disablement and physical and psychological harm. So I reached out to my friend Sean Saifa Wall, who you saw on the last slide, the founder of the Intersex Justice Project, to see if I could be of use. And through conversation, we created this image that shows Saifa's joy holding an intersex child who has not been subjected to non-consensual surgeries, who hasn't known the surgeon's scalpel, and to show their intersex ancestors who carried their intersex lineage across the Atlantic and through enslavement. When I collaborate with communities that I'm not a part of, we discuss that whatever we're making together is coming into existence because of their life and their struggle. And so they are the primary owners and can use the art however they want. They can resell it, print it, share it. And in this case, IJP uses every poster sale to raise money for intersex activists in the global South. How am I doing on time? I failed to set the timer.
You're doing great. Like 7 more minutes.
Okay, great. I want to talk a little about my work behind the scenes, which is not always as visible. The fact that for a while, some of my work of Marsha and with other trans folks of color received a lot of attention is fine, and also not unconnected to the fact that I'm a white artist who had the support and resources to do that often unpaid work. And it pointed to a real need to support the work of trans artists of color. So 7 years ago, with many other folks, including the organization Forward Together, I helped start a project that is very close to my heart called the Trans Day of Resilience Art Project. This is a screenshot of the website, and we'll send out a link to it afterwards. The purpose has been to support BIPOC trans artists and to celebrate trans people of color while they are alive, because we can not only cherish the Marshas of the past, we need to support all the Marshas of today. I'm just going to share with you some of these incredible pieces by the artists we worked with. Every year we did not every year, every other year we did a national open call for BIPOC trans artists. We paid them really well. We dedicated a whole tactical team to help them grow as artists and learn how to print and sell their work for the first time often. We made it blow up on social media. We helped them exhibit it and distribute it nationally. And I'm very happy to say this project helped launch many careers, and many of these folks are still my friends and my teachers. We worked with hundreds of organizations to get the art to thousands of trans youth in high schools and middle schools, and to get the art to thousands of trans folks in prison and hundreds of grassroots tiny trans mutual aid groups across the country. So just some more of the gems, but you can see all the work on the website. I wanted to share one story. This is Jocelyn Beyonce. She's an incredible organizer and an asylum seeker from Nicaragua. She is holding a poster by my friend Romy Torrico in collaboration with Familia Trans Queer Liberation Movement. Jocelyn Beyonce crossed 6 borders to get to the US. While in Mexico, she was kidnapped and they threw acid on her. And when she finally got to the US, ICE kidnapped her and she spent months imprisoned in Cibola Trans Detention Center. Incredibly, she won her asylum case, which is very, very rare. And as soon as she was free, she started renting a house in Albuquerque where she could house her undocumented sisters who were also getting out of trans detention. We met Jocelyn and she immediately gravitated to Romy's poster. And we sent her and her house an art care package of love to remind them that trans liberation is beautiful, abundant, and borderless. This is my friend Ashley Diamond. She is a young Black trans woman who has been caged and tortured in men's prisons in Georgia for the last 10 years. Ashley has been enduring ongoing assaults by prisoners and guards. When she went to prison, she'd been on hormones for 17 years. And prison officials placed her in solitary confinement for pretending to be a woman. They stopped her hormone therapy and forced her to medically transition. And Ashley has attempted suicide and self-castration, but she continues to fight. I can't even tell you all the ways that Ashley continues to fight. 5 years ago, I met Ashley, and she said to me, "I know you. When I was in solitary, I saw your art in the newsletter, and it was so beautiful. And it gave me strength. And I decided I was going to survive and get out of here. And someday you would paint my portrait too." This is why we live, to save each other's lives, to refuse to abandon each other, to leave the boxcar together. Thank you.
Wow. Let's just take a moment and sort of let that sink in, and then let whatever love you want to share back to Micah in the chat for a moment. Just send some love. So powerful and such a gift. Thank you. And I know there's so much more that could be shared. I want to open it up for the next 10 minutes or so for thoughts or questions that folks have. Probably don't have a space for all of us to ask a question, but we have a space for a couple of questions. And I know Micah would love to hear what y'all are thinking or would want to know more about. So if you have a question and you can raise your hand using the raise hand function, which is under the reactions button, or you can put your name in chat or raise your hand physically, however works. Just let us know if you have a question you want to share. I think we're all a little heart blasted open right now, so like words may not be coming. I'll leave it for another minute or so if folks do have a question that they want to raise. Yeah, Sarah Ann.
Thanks for seeing my actual hand while I was looking for my Zoom hand. Micah, thank you so much. It's always such a gift to get to hear you and to get to see you. So thank you. I think I have two questions. They're just forming and one is, you spoke so beautifully about learning to see what you had missed, and I'm curious if you could talk about what it looks like to you, like what, I'm going to use the word tshuva. I don't know if that's the right word for you, but what that looks like for you. You're making amends by repairing where you hadn't missed something, where you hadn't seen it, where you had overlooked, where you had caused harm. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit also maybe about your internal process of that, how you forgive or not the parts of yourself that did perpetuate that harm. That's one question, one universe of question. And then the other is, have you said no to anything that you've been asked to do? And when and where and why and how was that for you? And thank you.
Oh, so good to see you, Sarah Ann. Oh my God, I say no a lot, especially right now, because the subtext or super text of this whole thing is that I'm doing a lot of reckoning with resting because I have tendonitis from years of drawing too much. So I cannot do my usual work right now. And, I do feel like community and friends are what allow us to rest. Interdependence is what allows us to rest. I'm always so happy to just refer people to any of the amazing artists that I'm so lucky to be in community with. And like the older I get, the more I'm really clear that not only do I believe that friendship is not a lie, but friendship is the entire point. Like my friends are like the masterpiece of my life, some of whom are on this call right now. Yeah, so lots of saying no. And then what was the other thing? How do I reckon with where I have missed things constantly? I think just for myself and the people who are my comrades and teachers, it's just how do we be in a constant state of humility, not in a sense of erasing or degrading ourselves, but just this is what it is to try and live an anti-racist life, an anti-oppression life, knowing that we're constantly creating harm and we are constantly lovingly trying to show up and do better. And that is the work of our entire lives.
Anyone else? We maybe have time for one more question if there's something that has bubbled up for anyone that you want to offer as a question. Okay, maybe I'll ask Micah. I feel like the end of your presentation really was like an incredible blessing for us, but knowing that this is a session for activists, organizers, people who are like putting their lives on the line, all of their energy, their time, maybe are exhausted, like what kind of blessing do you have for the folks in this space who are doing work in all kinds of incredible ways in the world? No pressure. It can be fragments, it can be thoughts, it can be anything.
We have to rest. We have to take turns. I mean, I see us all struggling with this, all supporting each other. Lewis, I'm exhausted. Bless me, please. Yeah, just constantly trying to do less, and definitely the teaching of our ancestors that whoever has saved one life has saved an entire world is a constant reminder for me that I know that we've saved at least one life, and that's enough.
Amen. So we want to take all that has been sort of stirred up, activated, sparked. I know in my notebook, I wrote down like 10 incredible phrases or more that you've said that I want to like sit with and process. I see others nodding too. So in a moment, Micah is going to give us a prompt for some creative process time. As we said in the email you all received, like this can be visual art making, this can be daydreaming, like laying on your couch and gazing out the window or closing your eyes. This can be playing around on an instrument or with your body, or whatever way feels nourishing and good for you right now in this moment, to really check in with yourself and see what that is, as a way to integrate and to process what's been shared. And to know, yeah, everything here is an invitation. So take what feels good and follow that. And that this is a time to elongate our conversation with the material that's been shared. What's been stirred up, what's becoming clear, where do I feel this in my body? I guess I just want to share that so often I feel like, if you've been to an artist salon before, an artist talk, it's like I go super inspired, I'm like blown away, blown open, and then it's like you just like go out into the rest of your life, into the world, and want to like have a chance together with the people who heard what was shared to process and see kind of where we go with that. And to get to metabolize. So in a moment, Michael will give us a prompt that we can follow or follow whatever calls us for our art making. We'll have 20 minutes of time of parallel art making creative process time in our virtual studio here. After the prompt, I'll put on some music to hold the space, and feel free to mute or put on your own music, however you want. And we'll come back together at the top of the hour. We'll have a chance to share back like what came for us from our creative process. An invitation, no requirement. So Micah, you want to give us our prompt, and then we'll move into our creative process time and hopefully let ourselves be buoyed and held by our creativity.
Sure. Okay, a prompt. I am guided by the teaching of our ancestors that probably many of you know. There is nothing more whole than a broken heart. Or in Yiddish, es ist nicht toa ganzere Sach wie zerbrochene Herz. What does it feel like to bring the broken parts of ourselves back from the hospital, out of the boxcar, to refuse to leave them behind? What does it feel like to welcome our brokenness into the wholeness of our hearts?
Thank you. And if you have that written and can put it in chat, that would be amazing, so we can refer back to it. Okay, any questions before we go into some creative time? Folks feeling okay? Looking around, seeing. Okay, awesome. So we'll come back together at the top of the hour. And again, feel free to mute, feel free to tilt your screen if you want to see or show what you're working on, or feel free to go off camera if that feels better for you.
I believe in being ready. I believe in being ready. I
So we'll have another couple of minutes in creative process, and just an invitation for those who like to have a chance to kind of step back from what you've been working on, if there's something to look at, or just kind of have some chance to reflect on what's come through. Invite you to transition into a couple minutes just of stepping back from your piece or writing in response to your piece or your process. Or if what feels good is to continue to keep working on what you're working on, then keep doing that. And we'll come back together in just a couple of more minutes. So over the next minute or so, you're welcome to continue working if you want, but invite you to come back into the space together if you would. And yay, we can welcome each other back. Feels so special to get to be in parallel play and just be alongside one another in our own process. Thank you for that. So the intention for these sessions is for the presenter and for all of us to have a generative experience. And the metaphor that I've been thinking about is Micah, I think you posted recently about Lewis Hyde's The Gift, which is such a classic and important and amazing work. And thinking about the gift-giving economy and how so often we get to go and receive, as I was saying before, but not close that circle by like, for the presenter get to hear back like how things were moved or stirred up or activated or opened within us from what they shared, and how sometimes it takes just more time and more space, and how art making can be a way to help us get in touch with what's there for us. So this is all an experiment, but with the intention of, Micah gave us the gift of their work and their heart and their experience, and we've gotten to sort of sit with and sift through what they shared and take it into ourselves. We get to offer out our own process and maybe something that has been sparked for us. So wanted to open up, just have a little bit of time left together tonight, but an invitation to share something, a sentence, if you want to hold up a piece, if there's something visual to share that you've been working on or something else, to share something that's been sparked for you or feels live for you in this moment, from the talk and from your process. Does that feel like a clear enough invitation? Yeah, great. And I'll just share, like, JSP spaces are a no comment space in terms of our sharing our creative process. So often we just like put our hands up to the screen just to show someone that we've shared, or if you're off camera, you can like put an emoji or anything that you want. So I want to open up the space now, something that came through, a question, an insight, something that was generated for you. Open up the space. Feel free to raise a hand virtually or for real.
I can share.
Thanks, Ro.
My dog is snoring in the background, just so you know, I'm not snoring while I talk. I went to a familiar place at first for me in JSP, which was like, fuck, it's not good. And then I stayed with it and kind of went to the colors that were bringing me joy and the shapes that were bringing me joy, and came through with this freaky, beautiful bird. And yeah, I really appreciated, Micah, everything that you shared, and what a beautiful embodied reminder to not need to be good, and that goodness can look like joy and freedom and pleasure and so many things. So thank you. Thanks for this space.
Thank you, Ro.
For dropping an F-bomb, I didn't mean to.
I can share.
Yeah, Anya.
Um, I went to watercolors. It's been rainy here in the Bay, and water brings me a lot of joy. And I opened up my watercolors in a different direction than I normally do, and the pink was just blaring out at me, and I usually go to blue, and I was taking that as kind of this like, oh, what are these like pink parts of me that are broken that I don't often let shine through. And it kind of came, it's still wet, so it's a little hard to show, but kind of came out as this blurry, all the purple all together. And I was just thinking about the non-linear time that you were talking about, and the brokenness, and how to hold our broken parts, as well as that kind of like interplay between community, tag teaming, rest and work, and the interplay of those things with the water. And thank you, yes, so much for everything you said. I got a lot from it, and I've been a long time fan, so it's nice to be in a space with you.
Thank you, Anya. Anya, your color spoke to mine, so I'll go. This was mine. And I just wrote, I see a heart started with inbounds and moved beyond. I see blood and bruises, and I see beauty. I see a glowing field of yellow. I see wildness. I see clear shape and color moving beyond the edges. I see a container too small for the bigness that is there. Anyone else feel moved or called to share some piece of their process in the space? No pressure. Just want to make sure we hold the time open enough, long enough for if you're on the edge, feeling like you might want to. Okay, well, maybe we'll close this part. Anyone, if you feel called and want to hold up something you were working on, if you were writing, if you had an instrument, if you were like laying on the couch and wanted to show a picture of your couch, if there was an instrument or implement, and no pressure at all, but you're invited to hold something up just so we can remember that we were all in the space together, each in our own process, letting Micah's words and the energy of the universe move through us as they would. And if you want to put it on gallery, you can, whether you're holding up something or not, just gaze around and see some of what was sparked and came through. Thank you all so much. Thank you for being here. A huge, incredible thank you to Micah for sharing your heart and your words and your journey and your strength and your failures and your vulnerability and your beauty with us. It's really a tremendous gift for all of us. And you can feel, I hope, all the energy in this room and in this studio. Thank you. It's really a blessing and a gift. And I think we all feel so grateful to know you and be in relationship to you. And thank you so much to Danielle for helping hold the space and hold all the tech and organize and envision. Nothing could happen without all that happens behind the scenes. So thank you for that. And we're just getting this series off the ground and figuring out how it can be most nourishing and sustaining for you. So let us know. We have a little survey you can fill out and let us know, like, more of this, less of this. Yeah. And hope that, just a reminder, like, creative energy, creative spirit moving through all of us and connecting all of us, right? We're all tapping into the same source. So even though we're each in our own spaces, we're held and connected and sustained by that same force of the universe. So thank you. Looking forward to those who'll be back with us next month with Kohenet Kashira and then with Rabbi Monica. Just so looking forward to continuing to be nourished and sustained and opened by all of your work and to get to be in the space together. So I think Danielle put the link in the chat, and please let us know your thoughts and ideas about this series. And we can come off mute and I'll say goodbye and wish each other a beautiful, restful, creative rest of our day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.